Welcome back to the Ed Show. Little refresher course here. John McCain said that he would do everything in his power to prevent UN Ambassador Susan Rice from becoming Secretary of State if nominated. In fact, McCain claimed that he would block not just Rice, but anyone the president nominated. Yet over the weekend, it must have been the turkey. McCain seemed to have a change of heart.
She could conceivably get your vote for Secretary of State?
I think she deserves the ability and the opportunity to explain herself and her position, just as she said.
McCain has given up on blaming Susan Rice for the administration's response to the attacks on the consulate in Benghazi. Tomorrow, Rice, along with acting CIA Director Mike Morrell, will meet with McCain, Senators Lindsey Graham and Kelly Ayotte on Capitol Hill. Now that McCain is open to the idea of hearings from Rice, he's allegedly he's alleging a White House cover-up on the matter, of course, a narrative already being pushed big time on Fox News. Fox, of course, has devoted countless hours of airtime to the Benghazi story, booking guests to peddle the cable channel's conspiracy theories. But today, something rare happened. Fox News invited Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Thomas Ricks to share his thoughts about the whole thing. Ricks reports the truth for a living, so needless to say, his interview was cut short.
Senator John McCain has said in the past that he would block any attempt to nominate Susan Rice to become Secretary of State. She's currently the UN ambassador. He seems to be backing away from that. What do you make of it?
I think that Benghazi generally was hyped by this network especially, and that now that the campaign is over, I think he's backing off a little bit. They're not going to stop Susan Rice from being Secretary of State.
When you have 4 people dead, including the first UN ambassador, U.S. ambassador in more than 30 years, how do you call that hype?
How many security contractors died in Iraq, do you know?
I don't.
No, nobody does, because nobody cared. We know that several hundred died, but there was never an official count done of security contractors dead in Iraq. So when I see this focus on what was essentially a small firefight, I think, number one, I've covered a lot of firefights. It's impossible to figure out what happens in them sometimes. And second, I think that the emphasis on Benghazi has been extremely political, partly because Fox was operating as a wing of the Republican Party.
All right. Tom Ricks, thanks very much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Let's turn to Michael Tomasky, special correspondent for Newsweek and the Daily Beast. That was one for the archives, wasn't it? There's no question about it. Your latest column is on McCain's attacks on Susan Rice. Yeah. And, of course, it's very pointed. These two stories go together because I think clearly John McCain has bought into the propaganda that Fox was peddling out there. How do you see it?
Well, that's exactly the right thing to see, Ed. And, you know, McCain made it clear in his statements over the previous couple of weeks that he was going to make this a showdown between him and Susan Rice. He was going to say, I, John McCain, have the moral authority, I, John McCain, have the credibility to block Susan Rice if I want her to be blocked, and by God, I'm going to do it. And then suddenly, yesterday, boy, he switched gears. Boy, did he backpedal at warp speed.
Huge.
It was really a fascinating thing to see.
What's this meeting tomorrow all about? I mean, is this just another briefing for 3 senators that have taken issue with her performance? What's this about? What do you expect out of this meeting?
I think it's a savvy political move by Rice to say that, to understand that, you know, she does have to answer McCain's concerns, because he still is, to some people, not to me, but to some people, he still is John McCain with a lot of authority. And so she has to go see him. But I think that, you know, she's going to come out of this meeting looking fine. And I think McCain is going to have a press conference tomorrow where he's going to say that she probably, that she answered his questions to his satisfaction. And I think he's going to send the signal tomorrow afternoon that she's okay.
Maybe they'll compare academic records. I don't know. I don't know if they'll get to that or not. But you write that McCain should have zero credibility on Susan Rice and Benghazi. Why does the Washington establishment always seem to turn to McCain for, let's see what the Godfather says here? I mean, that's kind of how it comes off. When does this guy become irrelevant, other than holding a Senate seat?
Yeah, Ed, you know, he has been respected for a long time for his war service, for what happened to him in Hanoi, and for his early Senate career when he was genuinely a senator who worked across party lines, worked on campaign finance, did things to anger his own party, did things to try and compromise with the other party, took legislating seriously. He did buy a lot of credibility through those actions, but those are pretty ancient history now. It's been a long, long time. Ever since 2000, when he lost to George Bush, and we all know that he was very mad about that loss, but he became, at that point, for whatever reason, a very, very loyal right-wing Republican, and then especially after 2008, when he lost to Obama, and I think he took that very personally. I think he still takes it very personally. Then he had a primary from the right in 2010, and he became basically a kind of a Tea Party guy. This transformation of John McCain has been a very sad and difficult thing to watch, but there's a certain element of the Washington establishment that still wants to hold on to that 1990s McCain and wants to pretend that he's still that guy.
I think he's got to do a movie with Clint Eastwood. I really do. Michael Tomasky, good to have you with us tonight. Thanks so much.